Hey guys, let's get more news from Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Jason Tatum throws shade at Miami Heat during championship celebration. For the third time in 5 years, the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat met in the NBA playoffs. But for the first time since 2008, the Beantown Ball Club brought home the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Jason Tatum and the Celtics went to Miami to celebrate their 2024 championship before returning home for the parade and celebration. He was asked if Boston's trip to South Beach was a little sweeter without the challenge of facing the Heat while in town. "They're always easy," Tatum told Brian Scalabrine on June 22. Tatum and the Celtics blew through the 2023 to 2024 NBA season, finishing the regular and postseason with a combined 80-21 record. That includes a gentleman's sweep, 4-1, over Miami. Tatum averaged 21.8 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 5.4 assists in the 5-game series that didn't feature Jimmy Butler. The 6-time All-Star suffered an MCL sprain in the play-in tournament and never made it back to the floor for the playoffs. His absence certainly helped Boston's chances, as did that of other players in their route to the franchise's 18th championship. Boston's faced injured teams in playoff run. After facing a Butler-less Heat team, the Celtics took on the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. But they too were down on their luck with injuries. Giannis Antetokounmpo missed the entire series with a calf strain, suffered in an April 9 regular season matchup against Boston. Point guard Damian Lillard started the series strong, putting up 35 points in Milwaukee's Game 1 victory. But he would go on to miss Games 4 and 5 with an Achilles injury before returning for an elimination loss in Game 6. Boston went on to face the Indiana Pacers in the conference finals who, without All-Star point guard Tyrese Haliburton, suffered a sweep at the hands of the eventual champs. Former 2x NCAA POY center, still in Miami Heat draft scenarios. Miami Heat draft selection talks are intensifying, with former Purdue center Zach Edey back in the conversation again, and the 2024 NBA draft less than a week away. Former 2x NCAA POY center, still in Miami Heat draft scenarios. Heat Edey draft talks rising again. Miami Heat draft rumors have recently shifted back to Purdue big man Zach Edey. While March Madness was deep into its run, Miami and Edey's 2024 NBA draft speculation was high. Those talks slowly dwindled as other college players entered the conversation. In recent weeks, links between Miami and other draft prospects, mainly at the guard and wing positions, have become daily news in relation to Miami's offseason plans. With next week's draft approaching, though, Edey and the Miami Heat are again the subject of speculation. Edey's college highlights. Zach Edey's presence at Purdue really began to elevate during the 2022-23 NCAA college season, which carried over into this past season when the Purdue Boilermakers made the championship game. Although Purdue fell to the now back-to-back NCAA champions, the UConn Huskies, Edey still put up a stellar performance. His size and paint presence intrigued many with this game and his future possibilities as an NBA center. However, there was, and maybe still is, hesitancy regarding Edey's college-to-pro transition capabilities. Towering at 7'4" and weighing 300 pounds, Edey used his size and strength to dominate his opponents in the paint. That dominance, accompanied by his rebounding and rim protection, garnered 2 consecutive NCAA Player of the Year honors. This exact skill level is something that the Miami Heat could covet in this year's draft. How Miami can maximize Edey's talents. One could argue that the Heat are already solid in their center position. Bam Adebayo is a 5x all-defensive center who just came off one of his most productive seasons offensively on top of his outstanding defensive play. However, Adebayo is also flexible in that he doesn't always set up shop under the basket. A formidable mid-range shooter and a floor spacer, Adebayo could benefit from having a player such as Edey to back him up. Having Edey pitch himself under the basket would allow Adebayo to roam more and create more space for Miami's guards and wings. This has the potential of creating more offense for the likes of Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, and Terry Rozier. Not to mention, a defensive pairing of Adebayo and Eddie would undoubtedly be dominant. Eddie's transition from college to the pros. How Eddie's collegiate game and skill will spell out in the NBA has been a topic of conversation. One element working against him is pace and lack of speed. Eddie's stats and paint presence were mostly unmatched during Purdue's March Madness run. However, it was evident that Eddie moved much slower and had limited movement while in position near the basket. Heat offseason mailbag: should Miami trade Jimmy Butler sooner rather than later? Welcome to the Miami Heat offseason mailbag. Every week, I'll jump on here and try my best to answer your questions and provide some explanations during what should be an eventful summer. Let's do it. As always, thanks to everyone who sent in questions on X. It's also where you can send future mailbag questions. While the Heat have been waiting all this time for a star to grow disgruntled and become available, maybe the situation they were looking for was them all along. We've already heard that teams looking for their own whales like the Philadelphia 76ers, Golden State Warriors, and Houston Rockets are monitoring Butler's situation in Miami. All three of those teams are operating under a certain amount of desperation, and the Heat could take advantage of them or others and get the assets they need to rebuild in a post-Butler era, if that's the direction they decide to go in. The Heat would be wise to choose a direction soon for two reasons. Supply and demand: if the Heat decide to listen to calls, Butler could be the only star available for teams looking to make a big swing and could play the market against itself to drive up the price and get the best possible return. Clarity: in retrospect, the Heat were doomed as soon as they didn't get Damian Lillard last summer and entered training camp with more questions than answers. The Lillard situation played out for more than 2 months. During that time, the Heat couldn't pursue other potential trades and free agents. When they didn't get Lillard, they didn't get anybody. Trading Butler soon would inform the Heat as to how to handle the rest of the offseason and not let other opportunities pass them by. The same could be said about offering Butler a maximum extension. If you're gonna do it now. The alternative is to let this situation loom, clouding the vision for the front office all summer. Are they building around Butler? Without Butler? If Butler goes into next season without a new contract, does he become disgruntled and demand a trade in October or November? If the Heat trade Butler at the start of next season, chances are they won't get a star in return. The Nets got Ben Simmons and picks in return for James Harden in 2021. The 76ers got a handful of role-playing wings and picks for Harden last year. When the Timberwolves traded Butler at the beginning of the 2018-19 season, all they got was Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Jared Bayless, and a 2022 second-round pick. And are you a fan? What do you think of Jimmy Butler leaving? Leave your opinion in the comments.